Will you let me know if the paper is out, the writing is out of the camera spot? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the back of the knee, right? Well, I'll just draw this for you again. All right, so the lateral posterior surface of the lateral condyle of the femur. The lateral posterior surface of the lateral condyle of the femur. So if we were to draw, so this is, we'll make this there's the fibula. So we know this is a lateral side. So lateral posterior surface of the lateral condyle of the femur. So this is a lateral condyle, so lateral posterior surface. Okay, so that's the origin. It's in it, right? Okay, then its insertion is the upper posterior medial surface of the tibia. So we know from directional purposes that this is lateral. And this is medial. That's it, got cut off, right? And this is medial. Better?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we say the upper posterior medial surface of the tibia, we know that upper and posterior, we already know this is the back side. Is it cut off here?
No. Oh, wait. Yeah, it's like just making it.
You can see it though. So we know this is posterior surface. So we know this is the back side. And then we would say upper posterior medial surface of the tibia. So upper, which upper would be here. Posterior, we already know the back, and medial surface. So we can call it about there would be the insertion point. So if we connect it, if we connect the origin to the insertion, which we'll do now, this is how the muscle would look on its presentation on the back of the knee. Now its action is flexion at the knee and internal rotation. And in parentheses you would put you would put where it unlocks the knee. Is it still in? There.
Ooh, zoom out.
Better. So that is the popliteus. Okay, so we'll go to the next muscle. Is the tibialis posterior. Is the tibialis posterior. Is it still in there?
Yeah.
So the upper 2/3 posterior surface of the tibia. So upper 2/3 posterior surface of the tibia, fibula, and interosseous membrane. So let's try red. So this here is also considered, it's actually a ligament, it's an interosseous membrane. We'll just make it in X's. So when I say it originates from here, this is what we're speaking about. So it does connect bone to bone. So the it's going to be upper 2/3 posterior surface of the tibia. It's also going to attach here on the interosseous membrane. And it's going to also attach on the upper 2/3 of the fibula. So it's going to look something like that on the origin. And then its insertion is via a long pulley tendon that passes posterior and inferior. Is it still on?
No, you should zoom out. And then move it to my right, so here, yeah.
That's good there. Via long pulley tendon that passes posterior and inferior to the medial malleolus, running deep to the plantar surface foot muscles, and splits into 9 tendon slips. Can you see this bottom here? No.
Yeah, just barely.
So here's the calcaneus. And remember, here's the medial malleolus. So the way that muscle is going to run is it's going to run across the back of the leg. And it's going to run posterior and inferior to that medial malleolus. Now, this is the left foot. So, this actually is the left foot. You see that on the video too? So it's gonna run this way. It's going to run posterior inferior to the medial malleolus, and then if I flip it over like so, it's going to attach to multiple bones. Let's see if I can do this. It's going to attach to multiple bones. So here's the muscle. Okay. Here's just that way. There's my tendons, my two fingers. Here's a tibialis posterior tendon right here. It's going to wrap around and underneath. And as they go underneath like so, it's going to strip behind and underneath the foot, and it's going to attach to 9 different parts of the bottom of the foot. Probably the best I can show. Did it come
Yeah,
out?
I kind of like moved to the side a little bit.
This side?
Yeah.
So it wasn't shown on that.
Just when you like
When I flipped over. So the tendon's gonna, there,
more this way.
this way?
Yeah.
So the tendon is gonna basically strip, we'll try again. The tendon's gonna, my two fingers are the tendon, gonna go inferior to the medial malleolus, and then as I rotate the foot under, the tendon is going to attach to 9 different parts, 9 different areas underneath the foot. Okay, so it tracks in that direction. That was better. So, what does it track to? It tracks to the sustentaculum tali of the talus. It tracks to the cuneiforms 1, 2, 3. It tracks to the cuboid. It attaches to the navicular, and it attaches to 7 through 9, or 7 through 9. The 7, 8, and 9 attachments are the metatarsal bases numbers 2, 3, and 4. So if I were to show you this model here, which you'll get in a little bit. That's not good enough. All right, that won't show it. Okay, so that's a tibialis posterior. All right, next one. Oh, sorry, action. So the actions of the tibialis posterior are there are 2 actions. Okay, so inversion of the foot at the ankle and plantar flexion of the foot at the ankle. It's very weak plantar flexion. You're going to star inversion because that's what I'll ask you to memorize. I won't ask you to memorize plantar flexion either. So you'll star inversion, that's what you'll need to know. All right, so that's tibialis posterior. Next is flexor digitorum longus. And the flexor digitorum longus, is it on? Yeah. Is the middle half of the posterior surface of the tibia and interosseous membrane. So flexor digitorum longus is the middle half of the posterior surface of the tibia and interosseous membrane. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. Let me know if the green comes out on that video. It's going to look something like so. It's also going to attach to the interosseous membrane, but because I already have red, I don't think the blue is going to show very well. So we'll just, or the green's going to show very well. So we'll just make it similar here so you can at least see it, but it will attach more laterally as well. And then this muscle is going to insert via a long pulley tendon that passes posterior and inferior to the medial malleolus, talus, and deep to the plantar surface foot muscles and splits into 4 tendons that extend to distal phalanges of digits 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to track very similar to the tibialis posterior. Again, it says via a long pulley tendon that passes posterior and inferior to the medial malleolus. So it is going to track the same direction. Is that in still? Okay, and then again, it's, if I move here's the tibialis posterior, then you have the flexor digitorum longus, and as I bring it under, it's going to attach to 4 different tendons. They're going to split off like so, and they're going to attach to digits 2, 3, 4, and 5, the distal phalanges of 2, 3, 4, 5. You see that okay? Okay, so 4 tendons become attached to distal phalanges 2, 3, 4, 5. And they will, once they work, well, let's do the action. Okay, and then their action is flexion of digits 2, 3, 4, 5. Plantar flexion of the foot at the ankle, and assists with slight inversion. So Once they attach and they pull and they contract, they're going to flex the toes, right? So you get flexion of the toes with that pull. And that's flexor digitorum longus. Okay, last muscle for today, and you'll draw, is flexor flexor hallucis longus. Okay, and it's the distal 2/3 posterior surface of the fibula.
Dr. Mercado, put it down.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's flexor hallucis longus, distal 2/3 posterior surface of the fibula. So here's the fibula, and we'll write this one in blue. And we'll exit out middle 2/3, or sorry, distal 2/3. We'll go a little bit lower. Okay, distal 2/3. Posterior surface of the fibula. And its insertion is via long pulley tendon that passes posterior on the calcaneus to the plantar surface of the base of distal phalanx of digit number 1. That's okay. So how it's going to track, it's going to go via long pulley tendon that passes posterior on the calcaneus to the plantar surface of the base of distal phalanx, or that's a phalange also. That's can be mentioned in the same way. So it's going to track, the tendon's going to track posterior onto the calcaneus. And then as it goes underneath the foot, so here we go again. Okay, it tracks from this side now. So here's your muscle, here's your insertion, your tendon. Actually, the muscle, it begins to form a tendon. It goes underneath the foot, and as we bring the foot, is that in still? As we bring the foot here, it's going to travel underneath the foot, and it's going to attach. Do it this way. It's going to attach to the distal phalanx of digit number 1. And when it contracts, it acts. It's going to flex. Okay, it's going to flex the big toe. Okay, so it will flex it. So flexor hallucis longus flexes the big toe. Sorry, it's going to more do that. So it will flex the big toe. big toe has got two phalanges here, so it will flex the big toe. Attached to the distal phalanx, so it will flex it and bend it. So that concludes the posterior compartment, posterior deep compartment of the lower leg. So, should be a little editing. That's not bad.